PEP Radio is a part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project that plays music, news, and weather, actively advocating for the LGBTQ+ and disabled since 2024.
PEP Radio, available on Live 365, Roku, Alexa, and at paquality.com.
Here at Gay SA Radio, we're very happy to welcome the Othering podcast to our airwaves. Catch the show every Thursday at noon CAT, bringing fresh voices and compelling conversations straight to you.
Head over to gsaradio.stream to find out how you can tune in and become part of our family. Don't miss it, only on Gay SA Radio, where you are family.
One man and one woman join forces to rid the world
What are you doing?
of inequality and fascism.
Seriously?
I'm trying I'm trying to do a promo here.
For whom? What are you doing?
Welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory.
Now you can talk.
Okay, today we are talking to Phoenix McDonald. He is a transgender queer writer living in Oregon. Despite being physically disabled for much of his adult life, he enjoyed a long career as a respiratory therapist before being diagnosed with grade 2 primary brain cancer in 2013. Sidelined at last, Phoenix decided to become the writer he had always wanted to be, starting with nonfiction. He moved to Portland, Oregon to be near his son and grandson and found himself to be free at last to become who he always was, a lifelong fan of speculative fiction. Phoenix has written many horror and sci-fi short stories that have been published in anthologies and is writing young adult fantasy and adult horror novels. After publishing many of his short stories, A Discovery of Talents was Phoenix's first published novel. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you, Phoenix.
That is so cool that you've written so many things. And I love horror and sci-fi. I mean, those are my favorites ever. I grew up on, a healthy dose of Stephen King and J.R.R. Tolkien. What were some of your favorite authors?
I actually started with some Stephen King, and then I found Anne McCaffrey and read all the Dragon Riders of Turin, moved to Tolkien, and I read Lord of the Rings every year for probably till in my 30s, and Robert McCammon, Swan Song was a favorite, and then many different fantasy books. And I read more young adult when I got older, found that appealing, and that's why I write it now.
It is actually quite appealing. As a child, I always wrote books that were like for adults and things like that. And I was like, yeah, young adult, gross kind of thing as a kid. But as I got older, I found that they're really good books. Not all of them are, just kind of like the typical thing, but some of them are really good. And you don't always feel like it's a young adult. It feels like a universal feel of just finding yourself. Because some people don't find themselves until they're much older than, teenage years or young adult years.
Right. And I think that's the appeal. I read adult books when I was a kid. And then as I've gotten older, made the switch to reading more young adult. And again, it is that I find it much more story driven. And even though the characters are younger, the adventure is what's more appealing.
Yeah.
And obviously it's that coming of age, and the story itself is what that even though they're young adults is what is more fun to read.
In the intro, you said that you had written nonfiction first and then graduated and started writing fiction. Do you find one was easier than the other, or do you enjoy one more than the other?
I started with nonfiction because I wrote a memoir of my experience with the brain cancer and how that affected me. And then I wrote a couple of history novels, which was really difficult. And a friend of mine suggested fiction, and I read that. I wrote that. Much more fun. Much more fun to write fiction.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I wrote 2 nonfiction books on the paranormal, the ghost of Cincinnati, which
Oh,
it took a lot of work, a lot of research, but I
yeah.
always kind of thought nonfiction was easier to get published, like traditionally published, than getting fiction published. But writing is a lot more fun when it's fiction.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. You can get nonfiction published, but fiction is more fun. I thought that fiction would be less research driven, but I do find myself doing as much research for fiction just because I want to make things as accurate when I'm writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is important part. I do find that where I'm in the process of like 5 books that I need to write that are like trapped in my head, and some have some chapters down, some are in the planning stages and all. And I have to research to kind of, would they say this? Would they wear this? Or things like that that you don't always think would be necessary for writing a book. You just think, oh, I got the idea, just put it down. But in order to make sure that it's good, you have to do the research to make sure it's good. You can't just
Yeah.
go by the seat of your pants fully.
Yeah, accuracy is important, especially to me. Like when I'm reading and I read things and I want to make sure. I mean, if you call it out in your head if it's not accurate. So my own writing, like in my second YA novel, they build the ship and sail it, and I wanted to make sure that that was right. So I did a lot of research on like how ships are built, how ships are sailed, and even though the process is sped up in my book, I still made it as accurate as I could.
Mhm.
I feel like people are gonna read it, and then if it's not accurate, if they know about it, they're gonna call it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it takes you right out of the story when you know it and you know it's not right. Yep.
Y Yeah.
It's kind of like those books where the sentence just immediately is wrong and it's wrong and you're just like, somebody forgot to edit this. And it kind of
Yeah.
takes you out of that whole pull of the characters and the story because you're so busy, then your brain starts focusing on, ooh, what else can I find that's wrong?
Yes, that is yeah. That's too accurate, yeah. Yeah.
So let's get right into it. The brain cancer. That
Yeah.
sounds terrifying to
Yes.
hear that you have that. You want to kind of talk about how that came about, whatever you're comfortable with?
Yes, of course. I was like respiratory therapy was a huge part of my life. It was the career I loved, and I had gone to college to get my degree for management and moved into a supervisory role. I was in my office at work and I had a seizure. And in the ER at the hospital, they did an MRI and found the tumor, which was, I always say, the doctor that came to tell me, um, I hope he didn't play poker because when they did the MRI, as soon as he walked in, I knew something was really badly wrong because he looked sick. And he looked at me and he was like, I don't know how to tell you this. Um, you have a brain tumor. And probably the only time in my life I've ever been completely speechless. Like I was like, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to react to this. I didn't really know much about brain tumors or anything at the time. Um, and they sent me to another hospital. I talked to a neuro-oncologist there. Went to I went to another neuro-oncologist because from just I did some initial research, and the doctor that I talked to originally was like, "This is inoperable. We're just gonna watch it because we can't do anything about it." And I was like, "I'm not 100% comfortable with that." I looked up some reviews of the doctor, and there was a review online where a person said, "Don't go to this doctor. I went to this doctor. He told me not to do anything. I'm dying. Like my cancer is so bad now. I'm gonna die in a few months." And so I went to another doctor, and that doctor said, "We can take this out." And I like the surgeon I had was this was at Rochester in Minnesota, and the surgeon I had was one of the top surgeons in the country. And so they did surgery, and it was like a 5-hour surgery to remove and he said, "I'm going to be aggressive as I can to try to get as much as I can because whatever we leave is going to continue to grow." And they like tentacle into your brain. So after 5 hours and recovery, and I woke up and it was the worst I've ever felt in my life. Um, Brain surgery is awful. Uh, So they got like 98%. That's what they call like a gross total resection. And they sent it away for testing. And then he told me later that it was a grade 2 cancerous tumor. So grade 1 is benign, which means they don't expect anything to be left or any type of growth. Grade 2 is like it is considered cancerous. Anything left that they didn't get is going to grow back. Um, Grade 3 is anaplastic, which means it is malignant. Um, it will eventually upgrade to grade 4, and it has started to do things like grow its own blood supply. Grade 4 is what they call the glioblastoma. That's like what John McCain and old Biden had. And it grows its own blood supply. It's rapidly growing. It eventually grows so much it pushes against the skull and the brain, and then that kills you usually in about a year to 14 months. And so mine being grade 2 means they were like, prognosis is 5 to 10 years before it upgrades into the glioblastoma, and you probably won't live 10 years. And that was 13 years ago.
Yeah,
That's good.
So,
that's great.
yeah. And now I am on a medication that was approved the August before the election, and Trump cut all the funding to cancer research.
Yeah.
So mine just made the cut and was released. I started on it. I've been on it for a year, and it specifically targets. I have like an IDH1 wild type genetic component to my cancer, and because I have that, this medication targets that and affects the tumor. And so I've been on it for a little over a year, and my tumor is not grown, and it started showing a little bit of shrinkage.
That's awesome.
And yeah, my doctor says they have to say it's another 5 to 10 years. He said, I think 10 years at least. So yeah, so my grandson says you're gonna live till I'm 27. He's 7.
Yep.
Well, you have to now because he said that.
Yeah, I'm like,
Exactly.
I have to. Yep,
And
keep going another 20 years.
And I'm glad that it's unfortunate that it was a cutoff because I can't fathom needing so much money that you would have to cut cancer research for anybody. I think that being that greedy is a sign of a mental illness of some sort. And I don't say that lightly because mental illness is a serious thing, but to be that greedy that you're willing to cause the deaths of millions because you just need that extra tax break is disgusting and repulsive, and it pisses me off beyond belief.
Yeah.
But I am glad at the same time that you at least were able to get the help that you deserve and that you need. And I hope that the people that listen to this will go and bug the fucking shit out of their reps, their, Senate members, whatever, and get that funding back because cancer is a terrifying disease. I mean, just in the 80s alone, when you got cancer, unless it was stage 1, you really had no hope.
Yeah. My type of brain cancer, it's a diffuse astrocytoma, which is always upgrades to glioblastoma. And when I was diagnosed, I went online because I knew nobody that had my type of tumor. And so I went online and found an online forum of people from around the world who met each other and talked to each other. And there were several people in there that had my type of tumor. So it was like a touchstone. We could all talk to each other. After a while, it got to be a little overwhelming because everybody I was talking to upgraded to at least 3 and then 4. After 5 years, except for one person, everybody was gone.
Damn.
And it was so hard to even, I left the forum for a while and I dipped back in and they had shut the forum down. So there wasn't even, I couldn't even find out. So, but yeah, like it hadn't even been 5 years. And the first time when I was on there, everybody was dead. So for me, it was like all these people that have my tumor are gone. And as far I never was able to touch back with that one person. I don't know if she's still alive or not. She was in a clinical trial, so it's possible. Um, and I don't know why I managed to still be here after all this time. Uh, just some people it upgrades, some people it doesn't. Um, I have a I have a gut disorder that forces me to basically eat a keto diet, and keto is one of the things that's recommended if you have brain cancer because um, any type of sugars that go to the brain are like feed tumors.
Mhm.
Like that's how they grow.
Mhm.
So it's possible that that helped. Um, one another thing that I do is I do not. There's a thing called Scanzi
Mhm.
that cancer people have when it's time for you to go and get your scan, monitor your tumor growth. A lot of people they start to freak out when it gets close to scan time. They don't know what's going to happen. Is my tumor growing? And some people actually span that the whole time in between. They're like, I'm very worried about my cancer. They get together and talk about it, and their families get very upset about it. And I refuse to do that. I'm not living my life that way. I'm not going to panic or be paranoid about what my cancer is doing because that just wrecks my life.
Yeah.
I decided that I'm just going to live my life and enjoy my life and to the fullest and whatever happens happens.
That's
And I have just enjoyed my life and done what I wanted to do. And if that's helping, it's helping.
and that's so hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, my question was gonna be, what's your mental health like? And it sounds like you've learned how to cope. I mean, I'm sure it's not
Yeah.
easy, but you've learned a coping mechanism that a lot of people can't figure out for not quite so fatal diseases either. Just much better. So that's so hard to do, and I'm so glad you found that happiness inside you to
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
make it through 20 more years.
I mean, yeah, it did take it took some work. Like I
Mhm.
went to grief counseling immediately after my diagnosis.
Mhm.
And I'm still in therapy today. And I also was diagnosed with ADHD, and which was worsened by the fact that I've had brain surgery twice. That like TBIs exacerbate neurodivergence. So that helped me figure out some stuff along the way. So all of these things compounded, but again, it has a lot to do with like I'm just like not gonna let this stuff destroy my life. I ended a relationship because I realized that it was toxic,
Mhm.
So I son and my grandson now, which is because I can't live by myself with my disabilities.
Mhm.
Right.
So that's it's very rewarding to like live with family, and be able to see my grandson every day
Mhm.
and stuff.
And to have that support.
Yeah.
Not everyone has
Yeah,
that. That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think honestly, the support of a child kind of helps. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems that the idea of having those grandchildren or somebody that's little that's relying on you kind of gives you an extra push to keep going because you know that every morning they're looking forward to seeing you.
Mhm.
They're looking forward to
yeah,
say hi, grandma, hi, grandpa, things like that. And to those little joys.
Mhm.
And,
yeah,
that's kind of what I think helps push people along in some cases.
yeah. It's a big driver, and it's one of the reasons that I wanted to move here after he was born. I was like, I want to be a very involved grandparent. I want to be a big part of his life, and I was like, let's move to Portland. Um, my ex was resistant. Like, not that he didn't want to be part of his grandchild's life, but he didn't want to move.
Mhm.
And I was like, we're moving. So we moved. And the interesting thing is being in Portland was such a new experience. Like, Portland is a really wonderful city. Like, people here are really friendly, very accepting. Um, and it really helped me find a part of myself that I finally realized I'd been suppressing for a long time.
Mhm.
And then I was able to like understand that and allow myself to like grasp it and let it out.
Hmm.
And that's when I was able to actually come out. And that's why I say I was able to be the person I always was. Because I was able to look back and say, like, oh, this is who I've always been, and this is who I want to be now. And and that's why I came out. And my children are so supportive, and my grandson is too. Yeah, he's so great about it. Yeah. Um, and I've made really great friends here. They're very supportive too. Like, it's really funny to see on the news, people are like, "Oh, Portland's this hellscape. It's on fire," and stuff. And I'm living here, going like, "Oh, it's so wonderful here and beautiful."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of exaggerate that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you have that support because, finding who you are, regardless of what it is very, very hard. And discovering, aspects about yourself that you repress or that you didn't even realize were there because, due to circumstances of schooling or whatever it is. And it's kind of, at least for me, it was freeing. Discovering those aspects. I'm still discovering myself, even though I would be considered, middle-aged and old and by our children. But
Yeah.
um, but at the same time, it's hard to know exactly who, what, when, how, and where you are until certain things happen. And as sucky as it is, maybe that cancer is what gave you the ability to kind of see who you were better.
Yeah.
I hate that it had to be cancer or anything, but sometimes it's those things that kind of make you stop and say, wait a minute, who am I and why am I even doing this?
Yeah, I think that's true. One of the things that I have always said is I would never change anything about my life because every step of my life has brought me to where I am and who I am.
Mhm.
And if I change anything, I wouldn't be here. So, and it, like, even in the books I write, which are all about representation, so the things that I write about, I want people to be able to see themselves and find acceptance, and people who read it who aren't necessarily represented to see that the people that are represented can be part of stories too.
Yeah.
So when the cancer happened, and it changed my life, helped bring me to where I am, and then I've been able to, come out and be who I am now, um, and expand the worlds that I write. Be like, look at these people, you know, and other people to say like, oh, I can see myself too. Um, Interestingly, people like you wouldn't take back that you have this terminal cancer.
Mm.
Like, that's crazy. And I'm like, no, because it's just part of who I am now, and will it end my life sooner? Possibly, but we're all gonna die. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have a clock with an alarm that's gonna go off sooner, but you have a clock too.
Right.
You know?
That's true. And, as glib as it may seem, you can either live your life and know that even if you die at the age of 20, that you lived, or you can live your life and die at the age of 100 and be like, I wish I had done X, Y, and Z. And either way, if you live long or short, if you lived, you at least can rest knowing that you had some fun somewhere in there and
Yeah.
you didn't just follow what was, told you're supposed to do, the obey and all of that silly stuff.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows I can't. I was always in trouble growing up, and and so the
Yes.
obey part does not fit me. Um,
No.
and that's kind of I used to kind of feel bad about that, but then it's like, but I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be who I am today if I was that child that was perfect and all of that stuff. And who wants to be perfect?
Yeah. Exactly.
Perfect.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say when I went to come out and I started telling people, some people were like, "Are you crazy in this political environment? You're not gonna be safe." And I was like, "I have to be who I am. I have to live authentically. If it puts me in danger, I that's okay." And I honestly feel like coming out in my 50s as transgender, I feel like it puts me in a position to protect younger people who are also in hiding, and I can put myself in a place to protect, to be like all eyes on me. Don't look at them, kind of like I always was for my kids when they were younger and had, dealt with bullying, and I went to protect them too.
Mhm.
So I've always wanted to be that kind of like be there for, for people that needed it. So it's why I like representation, because I want to be like, this needs to be in the forefront. People need to be seen and protected and cared for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more that we're seen, the more that we go out and grocery shop, do mundane things, the more people realize, oh, wait, these people exist. And oh, wait, they're not like threatening me. They're not hurting me.
They're just
And they're
human.
just, oh my God, they're human. What is this? They have arms and eyes and teeth too. And it's like, yeah, we do. I'm glad you noticed. And it also, even if we weren't in this political situation that we are now, it's always great to have representation, because as a child growing up and seeing maybe one television show that kind of fit who I was growing up and how my family was growing up made me feel like, oh, wow, I can do things. It's not just hyperbole. It's not just, talking out the side of somebody's mouth saying, oh, you can do things. I can see it. That means I can. And then when I hit my teen years, and it kind of, stopped being visible, and it was just like back to the typical stereotypical kids and all that stuff. It was disheartening. And I remember getting super excited when The Princess and the Frog came out, when my kids were little. And it's like, oh my God, a Black princess. And even though I'm not 100% Black, but it's still a part of my heritage. And it was just like, it was nice. Same as when Pocahontas came out. It's like, ooh, another one of my heritage. And I was like, I'm being seen finally. And I do belong in a society. I'm not just relegated to the shadows. And it makes a huge difference of feeling like you're a human. Your cat's saying yes.
My cat's got your back. But my when I sat down to write my YA fantasy series, I wanted my main character to be, oh my God, really, go away. Go on. When I sat down to write my series, my main character is physically disabled, and I'm sorry. God, really, go upstairs. There. Oh, there. She went into heat the other day.
I understand that.
Yeah. My son said, he's like, it's going to need background of your podcast. Yeah.
We'll keep her in there just in case.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted my main character to be disabled, because I wanted disabled people to be able to see that they can be the actual hero of a fantasy and not a side character. Like, he is the hero of the story. He's the one that gets the power. He's the one that goes on the adventure and has to face the villain, all of that. So like, his best friend isn't disabled. His best friend is the sidekick, the funny guy that supports him. The pretty girl is the one that comes with him, the new neighbor, so it's him. Like, he's the one. So, his physical disability, his main one is my chronic disability. Because I've had chronic back pain my entire adult life, and multiple back surgeries and stuff. So I made that his main disability. And he has a residual arm with a prosthetic. And I've had people say, like, to see myself on the cover is like, he has a cane like I do. He has a prosthetic like I do. It's really so meaningful to see that. And people that have read it have left reviews saying, like, he's the hero, but he's got so many, struggles, but he pushes through. He still wants to do it. And you made it seem like it's just a part of life that he's doing this, and the people with him are supporting him. And he has the opportunity to choose to heal himself, but he doesn't. And I was like, from the beginning, I was like, he's not going to heal himself, because there's nothing wrong with him.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a continuing theme through the series, is that there are disabilities, and then I also have queer characters throughout. There's trans people. There's a gay couple. Like, with all this hubbub about male romance with heated rivalry, I'm like, Well, I also have male romance in the second book, you know, like, yeah, but no smut. Yeah.
But I like the fact that you're representing people. We need to be represented everywhere because
Yeah.
if you want to be cured, I understand that. And that's fine for you. But again, we're not a monolith. And some of us are happy as is. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, it would be nice if I could just run normal or walk normal. But for the most part, I can't. And that's okay. And I've started making peace with that and being able to be represented and have not the typical, well, I want to be cured all the time is kind of nice because not everybody wants to be cured. Not everybody wants to get rid of the prosthetics or the aids that they need in order to move because sometimes that's just how it is. And to portray people as human and just normal, that's nice. And oh yeah, they just happen to have these things that are wrong with them and that people would look in on and say, oh well, I would want that cured immediately, and they don't. That's awesome. Because
Yeah.
I was reading something recently, another content creator was saying that some people are happy with their disabilities. And yeah, it disables you at times and it's frustrating, but that's just who they are. And then there's others who want that cure, who strive for that cure. And that's okay too. Both
Yeah.
can be true.
Yeah. Yeah. The we are not a monolith thing is important. Like to make assumptions that like all disabled people want to be cured or all disabled people don't want to be cured. Like we would each make our own decision about
Mhm.
it. And I think the fact that most media portrays that we always want a cure and like story after story we see they get a cure or they want a cure. Like The Witcher,
Mhm.
there's a cure. Um, and I just like, why are they curing people over and over again in media?
Right.
So
With
okay.
your other disabilities, how have you incorporated those into your life? Like, how have you written about them and that's kind of part of your coping mechanism? Or do you just say, you know what, here it is. That's me. Awesome.
Um, other than like, I mean, I haven't written anything like non-fictional about them. Other than writing them into my YA trilogy, I haven't. It's just like part of who I am. Uh, yeah, like it's been ongoing since I was in my early 20s. I think an incident when I was a kid, like I fell through a hay chute in a barn and landed on my butt on concrete, and that probably
Ouch.
started
Yes.
the damage to my back. Um, so I've just always had back pain. I've had 6 surgeries on my back. Um, I was debilitated to the point where I was using a cane and often a wheelchair. Interestingly enough, my transition seems to have made a significant difference to where I'm now able to walk again and do some light exercise.
I wonder, sorry, scientifically I love science. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the additional testosterone may be kind of strengthening because we need both for good bones and things like that. And I know of a family that needs extra testosterone because their body just, but for some reason, was producing too much estrogen. And I'm opposite. My body produces too much testosterone versus my estrogen, and it can wreak havoc. And so I'm wondering if the extra testosterone is actually strengthening your bones, because it's rarer for men to end up with osteoporosis and things like that. It's not that it doesn't happen, but it's rarer, and
Yeah.
that would be kind of interesting to
Yeah.
note.
Yeah. I do suspect that that's a big part of it because I started on testosterone April 15th of last year.
Mhm.
By the end of June, I was able to stop using my cane. And by October, I was able to start going to the gym.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Which
awesome.
I still have like continuous pain.
Hmm.
And some days where I am not able to function very well, but it's a massive improvement. So I do suspect that it had something to do. And I do have more muscle in my lower back
Yeah.
than I did before because it had atrophied from years of corticosteroid injection.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I suspect that testosterone had something to do with the improvement. Yeah.
Oh, I hate
But I'll take it.
corticosteroids. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, those corticosteroids, I hate those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I used to have to take them a lot for my asthma, and
Yeah.
I ballooned because of it.
Yeah.
And which doesn't help the other issues that I have, because it's just like it's a constant battle of trying to get off the weight, but at the same time you can't, because then you can't breathe, and it's just like
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
it gets frustrating, but such is my
As a
body.
former respiratory therapist, I know what you mean. Yeah.
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 Because, like, for instance, every so often I have to take those lovely inhalers that always have that warning of you need to rinse your mouth out afterwards,
Mhm.
otherwise you'll end up with thrush. And
Yep.
having been around horses that had thrush, it's just like, oh, please, God, don't put that in my mouth.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I remember working in the hospital, like, taking the inhalers into the patients, and then being like, okay, now you need to rinse your mouth. They'd be like, why? Yeah, you want to rinse your mouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Were you writing before, when you were on the side while you were doing the respiratory therapy?
Interestingly, I always wanted to be a writer, and I used to always try, and I just would start a story, and I could never get it to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so after I had the brain surgery, and I wanted to write the memoir, it's almost like something just clicked, and I was able to make it through. And then when I tried to switch to fiction, it was easy. So something about the brain surgery or the brain tumor has just like switched something on, and I can write well.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we should all get brain surgery. No, I'm kidding.
Do you still
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I don't either.
do you still have symptoms from the brain surgery? Like, do you get a lot of headaches or something?
I don't get headaches, but it definitely affected my short-term memory.
Okay.
It affected. I have had like neuropsych testing. I laughed so much when Donald Trump was like, I took this testing and I aced it. I was like, you don't ace neuropsych testing.
No, you don't.
It just tests different aspects of your abilities, and you either do well or you do poorly. I do poorly on pattern recognition, on memory, and I do well on other portions. My short-term memory is badly affected. And I do well on other things.
Mhm.
I cannot learn new tasks, and which is why I can't work. Because I can't learn a new job. I don't do well with stress. So that's why I can't do my old job.
Mhm.
And I, because I have ADHD, and because it damaged and made things worse with being neurodivergent, my executive functioning and like multitasking are destroyed. So all of that is affected. Like my tested IQ prior to brain surgery was 140.
Wow.
My tested IQ after brain surgery is 80.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons that when people are like, oh, so and so's IQ is this, and that means that they're dumb or like
Yeah.
less intelligent than them. And I'm like, IQ does not measure your intelligence.
No.
It measures your ability to learn,
Mhm.
and that's all. And so I'm like, I'm not less intelligent
Mm-mm.
because I had brain surgery. I just can't learn new things. So I can if I repetitively do something over and over and over. Yeah. Otherwise, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does it make writing harder with the short-term memory loss, remembering what you wrote yesterday or in the past and remembering the story as you go along?
Yeah, I have to make copious notes,
Hmm.
or refer back to my previous books
Uh-huh.
to remember things like for my world building.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I like character names or descriptions, things that I like invented or created for the world. One of the biggest losses when we moved is I had a notebook that was like full of all the things I invented for the world. And when we moved from Wisconsin to Oregon, I lost it.
Oh
Oh
no.
no. And I don't know how
It was-
those are important. I've got notebooks of like character names and character descriptions and just different worlds and things like that. And oh my God, I would be horrified if I lost all of that.
It was absolutely the worst thing. Somewhere between Wisconsin here, there's a notebook with a colorful giraffe on the cover of it, and it has all my notes for my YA trilogy. And it was an awful discovery. So now I just have to refer back to my book to look up things when I write. And I just completed the third book. It's with my developmental editor.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that
great.
comes out in April. Yeah. And my horror novel is coming out in February. It's a Bigfoot novel, Bigfoot retelling, with a polycule spicy aspect to it.
Awesome.
Wow.
I think I had planned 4 books coming out this year.
That's
Well,
great.
that's awesome.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that process? Coming up with the idea and getting it to the editor and then getting it published. Like, how do you not want to like rip everything to shreds in that patience area? Because I would be crazy. Like, oh my God, my book's coming soon, and oh my God, have you finished looking at it yet? And how do you kind of keep that calm?
It's a little intense. Especially this year has been weird because I started the encrypted novel in June, and then somebody told me that they found some errors in the first 2 books of the YA, so I completely rewrote them in July, and then I had to go and republish them in August. I had to go back to the encrypted novel and wrote that, and I got that done in October. Sent it to my editor, and so for novel November, I was like, I'm just gonna write the 3rd one, and wrote every day, wrote 60,000 words, and completed it.
Wow.
Contacted, because I have 2 different editors for those books.
Mhm.
Contacted the other editor. That one I sent to that editor, and then I sent the Bigfoot one to beta readers. Now I'm editing that one from their feedback. So I'm going back and forth between editing that one, and now my edits are coming back from the other editor. So I'm like, edit this one. Now my other edits, like, I have to edit that. It's very much a mental process to go back and forth between the 2. And I want to publish the Bigfoot one in February.
Mhm.
And I have to contact my cover artist for that one and be like, I want to do a cover reveal. Yeah. And I have my cover artist contracted for the YA novel. She's going to start the art in March. Yeah. And I don't multitask well. So I have a lot of notes to be like, what I'm going to do when. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just
It's
going to
very
say,
overwhelming.
and just a moment ago, you said you don't handle stress well, and that sounds very stressful.
I don't. Yeah, it is. So it's funny because in 2025 in January, or in December, I was doing a big push leading up to January because I wanted to publish in January of 2025. So it was like 1 book trying to get it done, and I managed to publish on January 10th. And then it was like, okay, let's get the second one published. And it was just like, well, just that 1 book, and I got it published in May. And then that's when in the summer I started doing all of this other stuff. Yeah. I didn't intend to write the Bigfoot book, but a friend of mine was hiking and took a picture on their hike. And we have a Discord, and we all chat on that. And he posted the picture, and I was like, oh, that's a really cool picture. I should write a story about it.
Yep.
And it turned
Best
into
way
a
to
book.
get it.
Mhm. There's a picture that I've seen where it's like it has no eyes. It's just this large mouth and rows and rows and rows of teeth in its maw. And it's pinkish, but not human pinkish.
Well, now you just gave everyone your idea.
No. And it's a picture everybody has seen. I know people have seen it. And this picture just struck me, and I was just like, I've got to write something about this. And it just kind of, so I get the idea of you seeing that picture and just be like, oh my God, I got to write something about that. And it reminds me of Stephen King talking about how he got the idea for It, where he was driving over a bridge and he was thinking the troll of Under the Bridge.
Yeah.
And
that specifically must be where Ben on the bridge in the winter
Mhm.
sees the clown on the ice.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it
Yeah.
like getting published? I'm assuming this is all traditional published? Did you?
No, I self-published
Oh,
my
you
Oh, okay.
book.
self-publish. Okay.
Yeah. I actually have Real Phoenix Rises Publishing
Okay.
is I'm LLC'd and I publish my own stuff.
Oh,
Oh, that's
cool.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's tricky because I have to have everything completed, edited, proofread, line read, art readers, and
Mhm.
get some reviews out, and then publish the book. And I publish on Amazon and through Ingram Spark, and then I have a website and make it available so people can order books through my website, order books on Amazon, and then I'll have a TikTok store so they can order multiple platforms.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny because like when you talk about like one of the main questions that I get if I do book events, people say like, where do you get your ideas? The number one question for writers. And I think the universal answer is we're all just answering the question, what if?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What if this happened? Like you look at that picture and you get an idea, what if that thing came from this or turned into that? And somebody else will look at that picture and answer that question a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And you get two entirely different stories.
Yep. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm not worried about talking about the description of the picture because I know
Yeah.
nobody's going to think the exact same way as me. Might be similar in some ways, but it won't be the exact same because nobody's the exact same.
Yeah.
And it's just, it stands out in my head as for me, like some sort of vampire, like the oldest vampire type of idea. And
Because I would not have come up with that at all. Yeah.
and
Me neither.
I love vampires, so that partially is why. But
Yeah.
you know, Bram Stoker's Dracula was awesome read. I loved that book, and I am obsessed with vampires, like the scary ones, and
Yeah.
the ones that can be absolutely breathtakingly beautiful and sweet, but yet there's that horribly dark side to them. They drink blood, and
Yeah.
you know that aspect I find fascinating. And that's kind of where, when I see horror things, my mind automatically goes to some sort of either vampire or one of those old beasts, like, you know, the werewolf or the those old Hammer movies that
Mhm.
have them. And
Yeah.
I enjoy those types of things. And that's where my thought process lies. Now, show the picture to one of my kids and they might see it as a superhero's foe or, you know, type of thing.
Yeah. 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 And that's the beauty of being a writer is we all come up with something completely different and it'll be a wonderful story, but somebody else will be like a wonderful story that's completely different.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. And that's one thing I adore about writers, is especially when we come together as a community, is we're not in competition.
Mhm.
There's a reader for every story that we write,
Mhm.
and we don't have to compete with each other because we can support each other and uplift each other and say like, here are all of our stories, read them, and there's an audience for everyone.
Mhm. Well, I mean, recently I've read probably about, I would say, 8 different versions of the main story of Beauty and the Beast.
Mm. Yeah.
And each one was completely and utterly different. The beast was different, or it was a different type of beast, or maybe it was her that was the beast as opposed to him. And
Yeah.
each one, some of them, yeah, were formulaic, and then other ones were just really beautifully written. And it's like, oh, I'd never thought about that. And that's what's
Yep.
beautiful about the books is that you can take the core story of, for instance, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, all of those books center around a specific being the chosen one. And how does that happen? Star Wars is even that. And
Yep.
each way that they came at it was completely different.
Yeah. I have a friend who wrote a prequel called Beast, and it's actually about the staff on the estate
Mhm.
and their lives before they become the figures, and then the life of the young lord
Mhm.
before he becomes the Beast.
And that's awesome too,
Yeah.
because
Sounds
that's a
cool.
great story to write about. And
Yeah.
thinking about it now, that's like wow, yeah, why hasn't anybody written about, well, what happened before?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fascinating book.
And,
And again, she just came about the idea for this prequel. Yeah.
and sometimes that happens. Do you get ideas like in the middle of the night and you're just like, oh, wait, I got to write this down?
Yeah, that's something I think is interesting. A lot of people say like, "Oh, I had a dream and I got this idea and I wrote about it." And I don't because, and I think it's because I've had nightmares almost my entire life, and I don't use them as ideas, even though I write horror.
Mhm.
So that's not something that I have done. I usually just suddenly get an idea from something that triggers me to write a story, like that picture that I saw.
Mhm.
Then my friend was like, "Yeah, you can have the rights to my picture and write your book." So the picture will be in the book when it comes out. But yeah, most of my ideas just like I'll hear something
Mhm.
or see something and it just triggers me to have an idea. I always say the shower is my thinking place because when I'm taking a shower, a lot of times I get ideas for stuff. Like the name of the villain in my YA fantasy trilogy came to me in the shower.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Very close.
I have troubles thinking in the shower because I'm always like thinking of Psycho.
Oh.
I watched it probably way too young in my life, but so every time I'm taking a shower, I'm just like, somebody there.
Yeah.
I gotta look.
Yeah, because of The Shining, I spent a lot of years whipping back shower curtains.
Yep,
Yep.
me too.
Yeah.
I can't stand like being in any hotel where the carpet looks like it's from the 70s, and I'm just like, oh great, we're in The Shining.
I have a photograph in the house I used to live in. My grandson, I walked by the hallway and he had left his trike just in the middle of the hallway. So I walked by and there's just his trike sitting in the middle of the highway alone. And I was like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
So I just took a picture of it.
It's like the rocking chair up in the attic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those are the things that just you'll see this little glimpse.
Mhm.
Yep.
And my brain is just like, I can write a story about that.
Hmm.
Well, unfortunately, we do have to start wrapping it up.
Yes.
Before we go, do you want to let people know where they can find your books or find you on social media, whatever you want to put out there?
I have a website. It's therealphoenixrises.com. I'm on TikTok, real_Phoenix_rises_ sin author, and on Instagram, real_Phoenix_rights_ sin author.
Okay.
Awesome.
And I'll put those in the show notes.
Yes, and please follow. Definitely.
Yes. And thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us today.
It
This
has
has
been
been
a
a great conversation.
thorough pleasure
Thanks
for
for
us.
having me.
Anytime.
And when you become a best-selling author, you'll have to come back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely would. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, we would love to do like a live show with you for like book signings or book premieres and be like, this was seen in our show.
I would love that. Yeah. It'd be great. I would love both becoming a best-selling author and to come back on
Yes,
the show.
awesome.
Yep.
We'll be here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to The Othering Podcast by Mike and Dory. Please like and follow us on all of your favorite social media.
The Othering Podcast is produced by LoudCore Productions, graphics by Josh, and music by Jordy James.